Citizen comments. All right, seeing none, hearing none. Let's move on to election of the chair and vice chair. Gosh, do we have enough people? Who's not here? Let's vote them. That's what I say.
You're missing Doug and Gary.
They do
Oh,
have to,
Gary's
oh, look,
here.
and there's Gary.
Oh, perfect.
They do have to accept the nomination. So usually what you do is you open the floor for nominations.
All right, let's open the floor for nominations for chair and vice chair. Let's start with chair. Should we do that? Do you have any nominations for chair position?
Well, Doug's not here, so
Nominate
I
Wendy,
nominate him.
please.
Yep,
That's what I was gonna say.
yep.
All right, we got a nomination. Thank you, Dennis, for Wendy.
Do you accept the nomination?
Oh, yes.
Are there any other nominations? Here's Gary.
So then should we vote on that one and then
Yeah, so
move
you
on
can vote
to?
on that one, and then you can move on and do vice.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion?
I'm an aye.
All right,
Gary's an aye.
yep. Okay, yay, I get to be president, or what do you call it? Chair. Next year. Thank you very much. Moving on to vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? I'm not sure about you, Dennis.
Well, so I guess.
It was me and Dennis last time.
Yeah, so my encouragement, so Dennis was appointed for a one-year term. He's gonna finish
Yeah.
out Vicky Ross's term. So my encouragement to the group would be, normally, you have a chair and a vice chair, and then when the chair steps down the following year, the vice chair then
Yeah.
can roll into that position. So I would encourage you guys to consider someone who's going to be here next year, because Dennis may not.
Yeah, so who's the 2 years? Is everybody got 2 years except Dennis?
Yes.
Okay,
The other three I'll have two.
okay. Does that make sense, Dennis?
It does.
Okay.
Perfect sense. Not that I'm unwilling to help, but I think that
Right.
makes good sense.
Right, yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Am I on this?
Yep.
Yep, you're good, Gary.
Okay, great. All I see is Dennis's face. Huge.
Gary, would you like to nominate
you.
anybody for vice chair?
I'm a newbie. I'm not the one to ask.
Yes, there's several of you that are newbies.
Yeah,
Right now.
that's probably just, you're not interested, right?
I'm afraid yeah, no.
Doug
And
would
you-
probably do it,
And
but
you can have a newbie be the vice chair, because the vice chair really just fills in for the chair if the chair is gone.
Yeah.
So if Wendy was unable to attend a meeting, you guys would run, whoever the vice chair is, would run the meeting. So that's, calling to order and following the agenda that we present. And that is kind of keeping order at the meeting is most of the thing. And then you would sign minutes, so.
does anybody want to
And you
volunteer?
kind of learn all the things so that the following year you could be the chair.
It's easy for me. I would nominate Tammy just because I know it's easy for me to hand stuff off to her if something happened and I know she can handle it. I don't know that she wants to take something else on again,
Wendy,
like she said.
Wendy, I
it's not-
can't see who's there. I can see that Mike is there, but I can't,
Yeah,
I
do
don't
you
know
go
who's
by,
in the room.
she go by Sue or
Oh, because
Sue? No,
Susie.
Not Sue.
Susie.
Okay, that's what
So
I
let's
heard.
do,
So
let's
Susie-
do a quick introduction of, I had this later on in this agenda, but let's do a quick introduction so everybody knows who everybody is. So on our Zoom, because you can see just the back of our heads.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So on the Zoom, we have Gary Bush and Dennis Ortman. So Dennis is in the orange and Gary waving there. Then at the table, Wendy, Brenda, our BID administrator, Susie Jones from Jones Supply, Tammy Myers, who's property owner downtown, myself, Don, Mike Follett.
I would nominate Tammy Myers.
Tammy, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
Be good.
Any other nominations?
All right, we have a nomination let's just consider that a,
Need a vote.
yeah. So, all in favor of Tammy being vice chair?
Aye.
All opposed? Any discussion? Thank you, Tammy. All right, that hopefully will be the hardest thing today. I knew it was not gonna be easy because we had so many new people, so. Okay, moving on to approval of the December 8th minutes. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for December 8th.
Second it.
All right, we have a first and a second, any discussion? Or how about this, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's move on to board approval to add the Business Improvement District Advisory Board Chair as a second signer on BID checking account. We just need a motion.
Unless there's any
Yeah.
discussion. So this was something we had spoke about at the
Yeah.
last meeting, with the idea of having the dual signatures, another kind of checkpoint, to maintain transparency. Like we've discussed before, each month when there's invoices, we will be reviewing them. So the idea being that you guys would approve invoices, and then the ladies could, sign those checks and get those invoices paid.
Very seldom would a check not be signed here. Or I would, after the meeting, maybe have to go
Yeah,
meet
you
with
would,
Brenda to sign it is all, so. Do we do motion that? No.
I have a question.
Yes.
Just if the language should include in parentheses, in lieu of the chair, the vice chair.
To have two
If
signers,
somebody's on-
2 second signers.
If someone's on vacation or they're not able to do that, do you need that, or would you, then, otherwise you'd have to come back to the board to
I would think we
approve
would just
any-
postpone the checks.
Yeah.
Right, we could just move it. It's gonna depend on the date of the payment though. So if I bring it, more than likely we're on a net 30. We'll have another 30 days. That, I mean, if we run into a second meeting where the
You
chair
don't.
isn't available, I would have to get that paid in order to move forward with the project.
Well, and we can also, I mean, there's always a possibility of doing special meetings. If
Okay.
you have something that like, say Wendy had to be gone and I'm reluctant to put multiple people on the bank
I would
account.
also agree
That
on
weirds
that.
me a little bit. So I would think that, in order to,
I'm never more than a week
Is it-
away.
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, so if
Poor
something
girl.
were to happen and like, invoices were approved at a meeting, like, I mean, they don't necessarily have to be signed at the meeting, you know?
Okay,
And so
okay.
if the group approved and Wendy was not at that meeting, when she got back from vacation or whatever kept her away,
Mhm.
she could come sign checks then.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing
that
saying
works.
they have to be signed right now.
Yeah,
And if
Once the board has approved, then
then the dollar amount is approved and so the check can be written.
yes. Yes,
Okay.
Gary?
Oh, I would vote for the way it's written. I just think it's imperative that you have it in the minutes so that any reference, if you change board members, any reference to that item would be in the minutes for reference. So then you've got it in the minutes, it's a legal precedent that you've set according to the minutes.
Very
So
good.
that's why I asked, so that was
Very good
put in
question.
the minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was a good question too, because I had thought about it and then I thought second, because I've been on a lot of boards and it's a pain to deal with the bank too, and taking people on and off and all that, so. And in good faith, I am always around, so, and within a week, so that should be okay, but if I go unconscious, I think it's a special meeting and you sign somebody else, so.
Noted.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things, you know, if we had to do a special meeting, they could elect a new chair, do the minutes, we get over to the bank, we switch it over, you know, you get hit by a bus, you know, that kind of situation.
We go with this until we find something else.
Yes,
Wrong.
so,
Alright.
I mean, there's always ways to fix things if something
Right.
catastrophic happens.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion for this? Or can somebody make a motion?
Make a motion to add the chair as second signer on the BID checking account.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, the report on the foundry, that's me, and not Doug. Okay, so we had a really hard time connecting over the holidays. And not having daylight is hard. And so we did finally get to the children together. We have not talked to anybody. And here's why. Reading through all the stuff and Doug and I looking at the art, the honest truth is, it's beautiful. It looks great. The blemishes there are that people are talking about, I think we're gonna have to have somebody show us what that is. Because when we're talking about water getting inside, we don't know where that is, we can't see that. We don't feel we have enough to talk to him about rationally. It's gonna be just a chaotic conversation of he said, she says, and that's not where we wanna go. We wanna have a business conversation with him. And so is there somebody who, I mean, I have a couple pictures of like imperfections where it's not smooth that maybe water could collect on. Do not see where it could get in anywhere. The color, show us maybe what could be done about that, but especially with the children, it's gonna be a different color immediately as soon as that water hits it anyway. So give us some more about that. But who is qualified to go look at these with us and help us understand what is not right with them? We thought it would be obvious after all the discussions and stuff, but it isn't to us. We're just, and that's why we got put on this, is because we're just laymen, normal people, and
Well,
we're business
I would
people.
think that you would go with the artist for the Coyotes that are the worst of the bunch, and the easiest to fix.
And that's Shannon,
That's Sharon.
Sharon, sorry,
Sharon Taylor.
That's Sharon.
so bad at names.
Sharon Taylor Grant, and in terms of the children, the color is one of the basic issues. It is
Okay.
clown orange and not bronze, and he knows that. Gary's already admitted that. He's already talked about that. I don't think that's a surprise to him. I don't know the imperfections on the children. I have not gone to look at that, but I would certainly take Sharon and say, let's look at it. That certainly would be my advice at this point.
So,
Worst are the Coyotes. The color is hideous, frankly, for the ones downtown. It's a clownish copper orange. It's not bronze. Certainly it's not what the artist ever intended. I think we do have some reason to honor what the artist did originally.
So Dennis, could you provide Wendy with contact information for Sharon so that her and Doug could maybe reach out to her and
Yeah,
set up a
that'd be
time to go look, because then she can point out, since especially with the Coyotes and Sacagawea, she was the artist, so she should know. And I think she has,
she seemed to have a good list in her head.
yes, and
but
has a much better understanding of
we need to
what's,
see it.
Yeah.
So we had those things written down and maybe not all of them, but from what we had and what we could remember, we don't see it. And so I think it would be really good if we could, to be able to have that conversation with them and be a little bit more intelligent than just, this is what they say.
right.
So if you could get me her information, that'd be great, and I'll reach out to her.
I can. She's currently in Melba
Okay,
with a son who had open heart surgery this week, but she'll be back.
yeah, okay. Sounds good, and then we will be able to get together a lot better, I think, now the holidays are gone. We just were hit and miss, and then every time I tried to go down there, it was dark, and you can't see anything. You don't know what you're looking at, so. But we did get down there, we just didn't see what other people see. So if somebody could show us, that's what we're looking for. Okay, awesome. Moving on, Brenda, you are up with financials.
All right, so included in your packet are the two statements. There are no invoices to review, just because we didn't really have a whole lot going on in December. So this just shows here that the Wells Fargo account has been officially closed out at a zero balance, and then the P1FCU account, again, I had to block out, we're still in the process of moving the BID funds from P1FCU into another financial organization. That, like Wendy had mentioned on the signers, it's a little bit of a process, so for now, it'll just be kind of blocked out on the statement because it's combined with the BDL statements as well. So here shows what the transactions were until the end of November, and then I should have a statement for December at our next month's meeting.
Which bank are you transferring to?
I believe we're going with Idaho Central Credit Union. So they are, they're a key player downtown. They've invested in a lot of, both property owners, business owners, beautiful downtown Lewiston, just a full gamut, so.
I was gonna say either them or Twin.
Yeah, so we definitely want to, do business with those that do business with us, so.
Awesome.
Any questions on the statements? So going forward, there'll only be the P1FCU statement until we move that account over.
Any discussion on that?
Brenda, are any of the three banks members of BDL?
Which
Wells
banks are you
Fargo,
referring to?
Yes, P1, FCU, or ICCU?
Yep, they are all members.
Okay.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the financials?
I don't know that you have to approve anything since there aren't any invoices that
Oh,
you're voting to
true.
pay on.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Hey, Brenda,
Hey, yeah, Wendy.
would you like to help a discussion on the strategic plan for
I would
BID?
love to. So we had kind of talked a little bit about potentially putting a strategic plan together for the business improvement district. This will kind of give us an overview of the entirety of what we're working on, being able to pull in work items as they're completed within a year, being able to add for the next year. I wanted to kind of get everyone's opinions and thoughts about what that strategic plan looks like, how we want to get it put together. Is it something that you think as a board, you guys can come up with, okay, this is the, the full 30,000 foot view, and then this is our 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever that looks like, whether it's in months, years, all the way to 2026. But yeah, I wanted to get your guys' opinions. I think it would be very beneficial for the board, the district itself, and then of course our ratepayers to be able to look at that strategic plan and be able to go back and say, oh, okay, this is what is being asked of the district and this is where we're at in the strategic plan versus every year saying, what are we doing new this year? So that's just kind of my thought on the benefits of having a strategic plan. I would assume that most districts of this nature have one. Beautiful Downtown has one. We have a community strategic plan. So I think it would just be another way to be transparent and have a better outlook on the work plan items that we have coming up until the end of this district.
Yeah.
What do we need to do for that? Do we need like a work session to go through that? What's?
I think it would be best to do a work session. That way we can have everything out on the table and be able to pick and choose and discuss amongst the board. Oh, this, this has been in the work plan since the beginning, but this isn't something that we wanna do. So I have, from its inception, what the work plan items, the very lengthy list of items that were given. So we can go from the beginning of it and say, okay, from here, this incorporates everything up year to date. What do we wanna continue to pull from that? What do we wanna just say, you know what, that's not part of the district, or that's not something that the board would like to do? And then come up with, what would it be, what year are we in? 23, so yes, 3 years worth of a plan. 4?
23,
Oh,
24,
this year.
25, 26.
Correct. So 4 years, which would make it a lot easier at the end of the year to then say, okay, this is what we had planned in the strategic plan for 2024. Is this still something that we want to do, rather than, so what do we want to do next year?
I would like to see us have a facilitator like Helen
Okay.
come in and.
Oh,
Manager.
yes, so
That's
I
me,
did
yeah.
leave a message, but I have not heard back from her.
She did it for BDL
And I do have that.
6-8 years ago
yeah.
or whatever. And it's just somebody to keep you moving and on task. And by the time she was done, she had charts all set up and synopsized it all for us. And it could be a small donation to something for her. She would probably give her time though.
Yeah.
She loves this town.
The other option would be to have a consultant that deals with business improvement districts come in and be the facilitator as well. That would be more than likely an additional cost to the BID, whereas someone locally that's already invested in what we're doing may be more willing to donate. So those are kind of the options as far as a facilitator.
I think if it's something we can get moving on and do, might as well just have a work session with a facilitator. That's not gonna cost too much, and if we can accomplish it, great. If we can't, then maybe we need to bring in.
Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
And I think we might have done 2 days of half days or 3-hour sessions or something like that. So either a whole day or 2 half days probably is what it would take. We probably could get it done in one. This is a smaller group, so
And most of the work plan items in there,
you already have it
Pretty-
organized.
it's
Yeah.
pretty organized as to when they should happen. Some might be ongoing through the entire life of the BID.
Yeah.
Others, we can
But we can
No.
help put meat in that
Yeah.
and have an actual plan.
dates.
It's
Would
important.
it be more beneficial to maybe set work plan or work session dates so that then we can approach a potential facilitator and say, are you available on these dates? Or the other way around?
Might have to be the other way around depending on their schedule, but
Yeah,
yeah, we could.
maybe set some initial dates, and if they're available, great, and if not, we need to move them around, we can do that.
Sure.
Um,
Do you want to send out a survey
let's,
thing?
yeah, I'm gonna do, I got to put this in my notes in here, so I'm gonna forget.
Yeah, 'cause we'll have to
Madam
notice
Chair.
it and
Okay, so-
everything, so.
Yeah. Yes.
One of my cautions in this whole thing is that you don't want to get layered, so many layers that are, you don't want conflicting layers with what Brenda's already trying to do. And lots of paper to sit on a shelf. You've got to be really careful that it's streamlined, I think, from,
Yeah, I think the goal should be
Just,
that we get actionable
Yeah.
items.
That's what comes out of it is the project, kind of how it's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, who's going to be doing it. She had like 4 or 5 columns of it and that's probably what you work off
It's,
of, a lot
yeah,
of it.
so it would ideally look like a Gantt chart that would say, Project A might be for the life of the BID, Project B can happen the first quarter of any year, Project C, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we can set dates on, okay, well, let's not do that this year because of XYZ, let's move it to 2024. And then we can compile all of the work plan items in one larger calendar with prospective dates.
Then things don't get lost and then you
Yes.
focus on the ones you need to do now and you have a timeline.
When you break them down into doable things.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause it's one of those things like we've talked about, like wayfinding. So if you look at wayfinding as like a big picture,
Huge.
that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But if we break it down into like hey, let's look at these banners, and then next, let's look at, you know, the removal of like the obsolete street signs, and next, let's look at the lighting situation, and next, let's look at the new signs, you know?
Yes,
Breaking it down into pieces and then actually getting each of those pieces accomplished, I think then you actually get to see the big picture happen.
So not being an action item, can we just have Brenda look into who and dates and maybe who might be able to do it and get
Yeah,
back to
so I would
us?
say, you know, if you wanna send out like a Survey Monkey or something and get
Yeah.
availability, and then reach
Okay.
out to Helen and see if she's willing to assist the board with that.
the other group, that for the, it's Ide Bailey, and I believe they're based out of Spokane, and they are the administrator for the, a business improvement district up there. And they had a liaison that is kind of in charge of our region. And so I'd be willing to reach out to them too and just see, okay, if we were needing to spend, any money for a facilitator, what does
What
that
would
look
that
like? Cause in my head, I'm like, oh, this is too much already. I'm already thinking, and they might just say, well, you know, we do this as a consultation or a whatever, and then if you want us there every single time, then this is the fee. So I can get that information as well and have two options potentially, so we know what we're looking at.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Moving on to the review of the 23 work plan and budget, Brenda.
Yes, so I met with Wilbert Precast. I've been back and forth with Tim Barker at Parks and Rec, and we were trying to figure out the best way to purchase planters as far as their longevity. We don't wanna put in anything that's going to have to be replaced in 3 years, 10 years, whatever that might be. We want something that's going to last a lot longer than our previous planters. So we were looking at different types of materials, shapes, colors, the whole bit. So obviously our focus is to have a local company do that for us. And K&G that did the cement work in Brackenberry connected us with Wilbert Precast. So I went out there and got to look at some of the custom items that they put together. And they actually partner with Puget Sound Precast, which is where they get all of their larger quantity custom items from. They have a driver that goes up there several times a month to get their own items. And it was brought up that if we were to order through Wilbert, that they would be willing to do a cost sharing for shipping. Right now, that is our biggest cost is shipping. It is, and the reason being is because we did end up kind of making the decision that cement is going to be the most feasible for downtown. So I can definitely send out pictures of what we're looking at. We won't know for sure until we have a better idea of quantities. So right now, I think we have 22 planters downtown. We have the ability to house 26 of them. And the first, bulk pricing is at 30. So we're trying to figure out if there's some other locations that we can start putting planters maybe further down. I wanna say east side of Maine, is that towards Hills Canyon Grand? Direction's correct. So, over by, like Garling House Memorials, Jolly Moores, that area, maybe meeting that, 30 minimum, excuse me, so we can get a lower price on it, and then slowly starting to extend the downtown district and what we're looking at as far as improvements to just the visibility of our main street. So that is something that Parks and Rec would have to figure out because they would be doing the installation. We need to figure out how to get water to them, what that looks like as far as drilling underneath the planters. Right now, it looks like the planters will be removed, the water lines will be capped, and then if we do end up getting the cement planters, they would just be placed on top without any water until the infrastructure of the roads is completed, so that we're not coming up with this wonderful watering system, and then we're tearing it up and potentially having to move planters in, out, what have you. So,
That
the,
seems like a long-term thing, right?
so we could
Just a couple
actually,
years.
we could purchase the planters and have them installed and have flowers in them. The benefit of having them be cement planters is we can just lift them with a forklift and move them to wherever we need. We don't need to take all the dirt out, the flowers out, whereas the planters now, that's what we have to do. So we can purchase the planters, the plants, the native plants that would go in them, offer up the program to adopt a planter for businesses that are downtown and be done with the project, essentially. Once the infrastructure of the roads gets done, then it's just a planning process with Parks and Rec to either move them in or store them somewhere for the time being during the construction of whatever section of the road is being completed. So the main thing for me was when he brought up cost sharing, I mean, I was thrilled because it cuts, I think we're at $500 per planter. It was 500 per planter just for shipping versus, I think it was 120 or 130. He needed to make sure that it was gonna be a long haul, his big trailer. It wasn't just some guy going in a pickup and bringing 22 one at a time. So depending on who the driver is and what type of transportation the planters would come in, whether we do it all in one stretch or if we have to go over there several times, would determine the shipping, but that's already a significant savings.
We have accounts with trucking companies
Okay.
that go all over the United States, so.
Okay. Yeah, that would,
Yeah, if you wanna get together with me, I mean, I could probably get you some quotes,
okay, that would be wonderful.
because 30 would probably be like a half a trailer.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know what size they are, but
So they are, the ones that we're looking at that they already have a cast for, I wanna say are 40 inches in diameter. I can't remember the height, there were different heights. I don't know if that had been decided yet.
but are they
For
gonna be all
visibility.
crated and everything? So they just take them
Yep.
off with the hyster and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
get that info to me
Okay.
and see what I can come up with.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Anybody know when the road construction's supposed to start on Main Street?
No, we're still working on that, right?
Yeah, I don't think that there's this day we're starting it.
Right, they keep talking about different years, and I've seen it move a lot over the years. I just was curious, because with those planters, we're gonna wanna make sure that they will withstand being moved. I mean, that's, we have one of the old ones in our parking lot still,
Yeah,
around,
yeah,
and,
yeah, they're definitely heavy, which is kind of the benefit of how they're built,
Oh, yeah.
I think they're like a 3-inch cement, all the way around, and then the base is 8-inch depth, and then you just obviously drill through for water line and what you need. The other benefit is they do give us the option to have, and he went into all the jargon that they use, and that was a little over my head, but pretty much a mechanism to where when we lift them, we're not just at the weakest point,
Right, yeah.
and so
Yeah, as
they'll
long as it's-
reinforce them,
yeah, as long as it's
essentially.
designed for that.
Yeah,
It should be okay, because I could see that project being truly a long-term project with them, and
absolutely.
over 5 or 10 years of
Yeah.
moving them, so.
Yeah,
That would definitely be something more to talk about on our work session too, is there ability to store them somewhere long-term while that's happening? I mean, or does it make sense just to postpone that
until later,
Mhm.
yeah.
And we could also ask Director Johnson to come and give us an update on
That's true.
where in the grand scheme of projects the downtown rebuild is.
And what don't
As-
we know about?
Yeah, and as part of that, so the annual meeting for BDL incorporates updates for the BID, and I have asked our Public Works Director to come in and give us an overview as it pertains to the BID, the downtown district, and what those work plan items look like. So that would be something to, anyone that has questions on that, to definitely participate in that. And we can meet with him beforehand and make sure that we have the same information to give out to ratepayers and business owners, property owners, et cetera. So, again, the main point of that conversation is, I would need to know if the board is interested in doing that cost sharing, whether it be through Wilbert or we do a transportation company contract. So that I know what I'm asking for in our bids. They can give us 100 bids, but it would be nice to know exactly, this is what we want from them, here's one bid, and then I can go to 2 or 3 other companies and get that information as part of our work plan.
Well, so maybe we table that one until next meeting and you get with Susie and
Okay,
find out some other transportation options. And then you can bring like those back to us and maybe have some firmer information from Wilbur regarding like what that cost sharing looks like dollar wise.
okay,
Cause then the board can make kind of a solid decision and then we can move forward with doing an
Perfect.
RFP and taking bids and that kind of stuff.
that works. Okay, and then on item B, adding more banner hardware on Main Street, installing new hardware on D Street, which currently we don't have any, and then printing additional banners to fill that hardware space. The hardware can be ordered through Image Design, who has been a BDL partner for several years and is willing to do an in-kind trade for a membership. So in your packet, there should be 2 bids, essentially, or pricing that shows both the banners that we had on 21st Street, on 5th Street, and then the banners that we have downtown. Why this printed in this, I don't know, it was in party mode or something. But this would be essentially the banners that we would have more of once we get that hardware in there. So with the cost being what it is, we would have to choose which one the BID would want to invest in, whether that's the hardware and the actual infrastructure of putting these banners together. And then the rest would be taken care of by BDL, because we need to advertise our events regardless. But having that additional space to advertise for pretty much anyone to use, it's a permit that is just through Public Works, and being able to invest in that and have other businesses be able to say, well, we wanna come up with 13 banners and we wanna put it on D Street. Well, right now, there's not an option to do that. So making sure that those are, again, the longevity of the items that we're purchasing. I'm more of the opinion that I would rather spend a little bit more to get higher quality items that are gonna last us a lot longer than let's just get it up and throw it up there, and then next year we're dealing with the same issue. So it looks like, so I would just base it off of the 13 and the 10, and then just cap it at, the 10 would go to D Street. The hardware does come included up to, I believe, 5. So then we would need to get pricing, which would be at a later meeting for that hardware. And then the approval would be for the actual printing, so it would be the 1989 and the 850. So 10 additional for D Street and then 13. The reason we can't use these anymore is because I believe code does not allow us to have sponsors on the banners, if I'm not mistaken. I need to maybe double check that. But the reason we took them down is I have an email stating that we can't list out sponsorships on the banner, so I don't know if that's something.
I would have to check.
I was trying to
don't-
look through
I don't know where
statutes
that
and
comes from.
codes and it just looks like math to me, which I also don't understand, so.
Yeah, I don't think that comes out of sign code, but that might be something that either came from Public Works or maybe even legal,
Okay,
saying that violates something.
and we did submit new ones for Fifth Street, I wanna say in 2018, and they were not approved because they had sponsors on them, so I can double check on that, I just need,
Who you submitted them to, and then I can follow up with
Yeah.
and figure out like where that rule is coming from.
absolutely, it would be lovely if we were allowed the same type of banners, because businesses really love being able to put their name on the banners, and it just is another benefit to both partners, ratepayers, you know, if you're either one.
Yeah, if you can find who
Throw that on there, okay.
gave you the no on that, then I can follow up and figure out why it was a no. Because I don't think that comes from sign code. I think that must come from somewhere else.
Okay, so then, it would just be, like I said, the approval of doing the, outside of the design, because that will come much later, is being able to, purchase them at the dollar amounts from Image, Design Center.
Talking about blank ones that will just be printed on.
So, yeah, so essentially it's just 13 full color, we'll need to decide what's on them. I would love to mirror the Welcome to Downtown, and maybe just do an updated with the updated BDL logo. I have also talked to Parks and Rec about potentially them purchasing 13 or 14, and then we purchase 14 and swap them out for city branded banners, and then BDL branded banners, and then city branded, and kind of take turns on that. But we would still only be purchasing the 13 on there. And then the design could be made at a later point. That's not something that would be approved necessarily with the actual purchase. That would need to be approved later.
Madam Chair,
Yep,
what is the cost factor in making the changes of banners from one to another?
is it a
Is that
city
done by
employee that
city
does it?
staff? Is that done by BDL? Who picks that up?
I believe it's Public Works staff that does the banner switch out.
So do they have a regular schedule or something, Katie?
That I'm not positive of. I would have to check with Dustin. I don't know which inner department of Public Works that comes from. I just know that it's someone with Public Works. So it's probably streets.
Okay.
Maybe not about that.
So this says action item, does that mean, sorry, Madam Chair, right, I have to say that before. Okay, so does, we need to vote on whether or not to just order this many? And just for inclusion on D Street and additional banners on Main Street?
And then at the next meeting, you would come back to us with
With
like
the design,
with the like the project sheet with all the
Yep,
bits on it.
with all of it, yeah.
Well, I make a motion to, supply, what is it, how many people is it? Those numbers don't add up exactly, 6 and 10, should be 16.
So it'd be 23 total, so it'd be based off of the bids that Image Design Center gave us, so
Oh,
up to
perfect.
up to 10 in this size would be this cost, and then up to 13 in this size would be this cost. So the ones on Fifth Street are a different size than the ones on Main Street.
Okay,
Can you repeat it for everybody?
right, so I make a motion to add banner hardware on Main Street and install new banner hardware on D Street, up to a total of 23
23, yeah.
additional banners.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Tammy and Brenda.
All right, moving on to item number 3. So I was looking in the packet and I don't think the actual MOU was included in there, so I don't know if we need to move this to next meeting.
I don't think you sent it to me.
You didn't?
I printed all the things off that came in the previous email.
So would we need to move that to another meeting so that
Probably, yeah,
they
'cause
can
we
review
will need
this?
the actual, like,
Okay,
the dollar amounts that you're asking them to.
Perfect.
And it doesn't look like it's wait a minute.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it can wait.
Okay.
Of course, it could wait a month. Yeah, we would have to, cause I would want you guys to review. I can give you a basic overview. It's a $1,500 flat rate, for the day of the, work session or town hall meeting is what we're calling them. And then, that would provide her with, room and board, travel fees, all of that. She would be coming from, Coeur d'Alene and then, be available to pretty much put all the nonprofits together as well as anybody else that's invested in the downtown district, and the business improvement district, to be able to facilitate conversation on how to work together instead of us all fighting against whatever it is that we're fighting. She can kind of give us an overview of, hey, this is how this organization can partner up because you guys are doing the same thing. You're just kind of talking in different directions. So, I don't know if that probably can't be a, like a, what is it called? Email vote, it has to be during a, okay. Okay, perfect, so we can just move that,
So I'll put that on, and again, can you do a project sheet for it?
Yeah.
To bring to the February meeting, and that way, that I think with the you and whatever information you have from her regarding what all will be covered in that meeting,
perfect,
I think that would be good.
that works. And then, excuse me, and then on item D, just kind of going back to what we had discussed on having a facilitator or a third-party administrator for the business improvement district. So I got a hold of other locations that have BIDs and how they run it and what it looks like to them. And not a single one has their downtown running their BID as well. So, which was strange to me. I didn't really understand. They didn't really give me a firm, like, this is why we don't have this, this organization doing this thing. But they also suggested Ide Bailey from Spokane, over and over and over. This would mostly just be a discussion item if it's something that, the board wants to review as far as having Ide Bailey be the administrator. They're very familiar with business improvement districts. They would essentially be doing everything that I've been presenting up until now and carrying through the next 3 years and potentially, if we decide to renew, if the ratepayers decide to renew the business improvement district, they would also take charge of that. So I just wanted to bring that up as a discussion item. It's not necessarily something we need to decide right here, right now, but just to kind of put it out there and know that that's an option for the board to do that, so. Questions or anything on that, I'm happy to answer that.
Is that
But
something?
Chair,
Yep,
Ide Bailey normally is an accounting firm, right? So it does other things rather than that, because it's, we've worked with them at credit unions here locally and other businesses. But I didn't know that they had anything beyond accounting.
So they have a department that does both the accounting and the administration for the Spokane Business Improvement District. I believe 3 of them up there. And so they have a whole team set aside, which encompasses both the accounting side of it and also, the work plan items, the administration outside of the bookkeeping.
So we would be paying them as opposed to paying you, is what we're saying.
Correct.
What's the impact of that on your budget?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, it would just be, what the administrative or what the BID is paying in administrative fees would just be transferred to Eid Bailey. So the hours that I present, for volunteer hours, my hours, just under that area 4 for administration, I mean, it would just be transferred over. It wouldn't necessarily affect BDL, cause it's not going to our salaries or anything for our overhead necessarily.
That was what I was thinking.
Any other discussion?
Is it possible for you to bring something back at the February meeting, like? I guess in my brain, like, so we have a contract with BDL to be the administrator, that contract covers a bunch of things. So I don't know if that needs to be something where you provide me with contact information and me and the city's legal team reach out to them to figure out what a transfer of contract would look like.
Okay.
If the amounts that are, I guess my concern is more like the amounts are set by that resolution. Changing that is a big process. So if that's something that the board is interested in doing and changing administrators, there's a lot of work involved in that. And I'd want to know all the pieces before the board like makes decisions on something like that, just because I would hate for a change like that to slow down the momentum of projects getting done, work plan getting initiated, those sorts of things. Because if we become in a holding pattern, trying to do all the transfer and getting all the legal parts covered, I just don't want to see the BID fail because of something like that, and items that have been approved and are kind of starting to get rolling, come to a stop because we switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also
And-
would wanna know their physical time here,
Okay.
because if they're thinking they're gonna do this remote,
Yeah, how do you
probably
get
not
around
gonna
it?
happen.
That was the
Done.
first question I had for them is, do you have somebody that can physically be here? And they said, well, yeah, we have a team for your region, which didn't really answer my
Yeah,
question.
didn't
but-
answer your question.
You're in Spokane, so
Great.
yes, that's in our region, but
That's-
that's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And, if I have to pay you every time you come to an 8:30 meeting,
Right.
that's problematic in my brain. 'Cause
Yeah.
then I'm paying, travel time on each side. And then how are you physically here to like make sure that projects are getting done?
Yeah, how do you even know what's going on really?
Right.
If you're not here.
And I wanted to bring this up just as far as, this is another option.
Yes.
Not necessarily that we have to go with it, but again, in the spirit of transparency of these are all the options that we could have, this is one of them. So I just wanted to make sure that that was a discussion item, so everyone is aware of the option for it. And Katie, I would agree with you after speaking with several other districts that have a third party or have changed it, they're like, just don't touch it. Just do your work plan, make sure you have a strategic plan, just don't touch it. So, but the more people that were like, oh, you don't have a third party administrator? I was like, oh, I gotta put this in there
Right, now
because
I
it started eating at me. So again, just another option to potentially consider if needed, so. But yes, I will get more
Are we
information.
3 years into, Wendy, are we 3 years into a 7-year plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Is this the beginning of the third year? Beginning of the fourth year?
Beginning of the third year?
22. This is the beginning of the third
It's really
year.
odd to try to change in the middle of a short plan like this.
Yeah, and it just may not happen, cause
I have a,
you gotta find out more.
We're like 2.5. I mean, when things actually started like rolling, because it was approved.
It was
approved in
so
December of
hard.
2020,
Yeah, COVID
Yeah.
messed us up.
and then we didn't start billing until 21.
Right, but it,
That seems
12/31 of 26. Done unless ratepayers have enough interest and vote to extend.
Okay.
Well, and it's hard, cause you just get going.
Yeah.
You try to get going, you're in the middle of a pandemic, and then you finally get going and it's over.
Yeah.
It's why they're 7 years. All right, any other discussion on that? Get us some more information, thank you
Absolutely.
much. All right, how about board member comments?
This probably isn't the maybe not the place to bring it up or time to bring it up with everything that's going on, but where the BID's main goal, particularly we have rate players who aren't here, and there's a wide variety of businesses. You know, it's really to, as is BDL's, to improve business downtown. As I see it, the projects that have been done so far and started, I think are great. I know that the art issue with the statues is a problem, not for me, but for a lot of other people, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But just thinking about it, to really improve business downtown, I think everybody agrees we need to get more people down here. I've thought about it, haven't had the time to really look into it and pursue it. I think if we really wanted to draw people downtown, seeing what happens in other communities, it'd be great if the city could come up with an area for a food court. I talked to him in McCall here, one of the long-time McCall, well, my wife's a long-time McCall person, but long-time McCall person down that's involved with the city. And he said that they had a little pushback the first time they did it downtown because the local restaurants were, I don't know about this. Every one of them had record days on the food court days because it brought so many other people into town to eat. I just throw that out because looking at the things we're working on and, trying to continue it and get people maybe more involved and excited about it, I think something like that might really benefit downtown and the city. The food court that he did on Sanker Avenue does quite well, almost in spite of itself, because there's no parking. And it's dangerous, in my opinion, but that's, shouldn't go, I know him well, and he's a great guy, but I see a lot of kids crossing the street down there when they shouldn't be in the summertime, which scares me. But anyway, that's completely off the point. I think if we had something like that downtown, no matter where it was, it would really draw a lot of people downtown. And I think it'd be something to build on. I've looked at I just basically looked at a couple locations thinking they would be ideal if they were available. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It's just something to think about and kind of throw into the mix as we're planning projects going forward. I think that something like that would really improve business, and that's what this is all about. So
That's a great discussion to have with people to find out who could do something like that.
right,
You know, somebody has to take care of it and
right.
Are you thinking like a permanent food court or like event style, like they do up at the fairgrounds?
Well, I would think you want to do something permanent. Whether it, you can do the event style. The only thing with that is Brenda already has 2 or 3 events that go on downtown that draw people really well. And they are one-time events each year for the most part. And I think if you establish the food court, you could draw people on a regular basis. And then it would tie in very well with the other things that downtown's doing. Gives people more than one person to come downtown and everybody eats. And, the restaurants downtown, we have more of them. I think there could be a lot more, to be honest, when you go around to some of the other communities or towns. You go to places like McMinnville and some of those places. Walla Walla. Lewiston should really be the hub. Wine country, but that's my opinion, only because if you go back 100 years, it was.
I might make a suggestion for that. If you have any points of contact or any ideas that way, send all that information to Tammy. Because Tammy is in contact with so many business owners and property owners all the time, and people who are in the restaurant
Right.
business and whatnot, that, I think she could compile everything for us, not to be on you or,
No, you're fine.
because she's working with those people anyway.
Right.
So, if we send them to her, she can kind of make it happen, I guess.
If I could add to that really quick, so I'm glad that you brought that up because we, starting in February, we're starting First Fridays. So if you guys are familiar with Art Walk, we're doing kind of a miniature version of that and inviting every type of food truck. Our downtown businesses are actually very supportive of having positive competition, if you
Sure.
will.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we're not gonna put an Italian food truck in front of an Italian restaurant.
Right.
But to spread it out, like you're saying, so that there are more options and to kind of create that walkability and that positive competitiveness downtown. So we will be launching that. The first one is February 3rd. And as part of that is getting their information to then say, okay, you've been at every first Friday in 2023. Would you also be interested in making it a permanent
Right.
thing? So, but being able to have that consistency with those food trucks is probably the most difficult,
Yeah.
you know? With the food yard, Travis has done a wonderful job of giving that permanence and that consistency for
Right.
consumers to go and visit the food yard. At the same time, those food trucks also have their own bills and have their own, you know, things that they need to take care of. And so being able to participate in other events can be difficult to try to move in and out of a food yard regardless of how it's set up.
Right.
So kind of creating that list of those food truck owners that are willing to be consistent at those events, whether it's a BDL event now, First Fridays, and then piling them into that list of saying, okay, we do now have an available space. You know, the owner of this property is willing to transform it into something usable. We already have a list versus we have this space, but now we don't have anyone to put it in.
Mhm.
Or we have excitement from food truck owners, but we don't know if they have, you know, they're following all the rules and regulations of our city, that they're gonna show up consistently, that they're gonna be staffed, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I think First Fridays will really key us into whether or not we have that type of following to be able to create something like that.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
really good.
yeah,
Well, I know when I go to food trucks, it just makes me more hungry, and then I end up going out.
yep, that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
that's the whole point.
Well, if anybody goes to the Tri-Cities, they just opened one there.
Mhm.
I don't know, have you seen it? It's very nice.
Yeah.
They have a lot of food trucks, they have 2 sections, but they also built a building on the middle part where you could actually go in and sit down and
Sit
eat.
down.
Right.
Yeah, which is
Oh,
kind of cool.
and we've
Um,
got that out for-
Like a pavilion type of?
No, it's not a pavilion, they just built a building in the
Uh-huh.
middle of the food trucks, and the food trucks are lined, you know, on the outside.
Doing that in
And-
Clarkston right now.
What's that?
They're
Yeah.
doing that in Clarkston right now.
Yeah,
Oh, are they?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna be awesome.
Anyway, it's a brilliant idea,
Mhm.
so, and it brings in a lot of people. So, it might be something,
Yeah, they
you
do.
know, to look at.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Any other comments from members? Oh, hey, Gary, what's going on?
Not much. I took a nap for the last half an hour. No, I'm just teasing because I'm just listening and absorbing a lot because I'm the newbie bit. I just want to tell you, Idaho History Tours has made a recommendation for the cruise boat American Empress. American Empress was stopping at Newberry Square. On Sundays, that didn't work so well because Newberry Square, out of 6 people inside Newberry Square, only 2 were open. And so consequently, with nothing else open on Main Street towards the east end, it was difficult for us to continue servicing Sundays, Sunday afternoon, and Tuesday mornings on a stop that was not getting the best reviews primarily because of the things I mentioned. So I've been working on trying to get the Center for Arts and History to be included as a stop, and as of 2 days ago, they are going to make the Center for Arts and History stop number 3. Stop number 2 would be the museum, and that's very popular. And so now we have 2 stops downtown, and that is a change in the route of the buses, and it's a change to where we drop them off. So on the Center for Arts and History, that'd be on the 5th Street side, the east side of Center for Arts and History. On 5th and Main, there's 2 lanes. One is a pass-through to go up 5th Street, and so the bus will block that, but they can get around because there's 2 lanes on that side. But we need to drop them off, the passengers off, right in front of the door. They can't cross the street. There's a safety issue on Main Street, crossing the street on the 5th Street side, that corner, with a big bus blocking the view of the cars coming east on Main Street. So that's the criteria that American Empress has. So we're going to drop them off. I vetted this with the City of Lewiston Transit Director and Assistant Director, and they think it's a great idea. They've had some input on how we get people off the buses. So stop 2 and stop 3 for the buses would be the museum as stop 2, and that has been existing for 9 years. And the Center for Arts and History then, and working with the director there. The issue that I'm bringing up is that we're trying to concentrate on the core of what was established as the cultural corridor. And so the library would be open on Tuesdays for people to walk through. Center for Arts and History is open. The museum's open. Blue Lantern Coffee Shop is open, and they have wine, local wine. So to keep them in that downtown corridor, walking distance between Center for Arts and History and museum, but there's no signage. There's no way for a person that comes from out of town to understand how to walk from 5th down to 3rd and go over to the museum. There's nothing that is indicative of follow a line, follow the signs. The museum doesn't have that, and we're coming up on a end of March start date for close to 7,000 passengers. Not all of those will be on the buses, but that's potential. That's how many one cruise boat brings in, is 7,000 during the season. Season goes from end of March till the middle of November. So I'm bringing that up just because the BID is involved with the signage and wayfaring and financing that, and also PDL is their design committee and everything else. But we, at the point before signage gets up, we're going to have to help the passengers, assist the passengers in finding how. They will be given a map that's been developed by the Cultural Corridor and Historic Preservation Commission over the years. They will be, the passenger will be given a map, instructions by the tour guides that are on the buses. But what can we do to help them? And I know that in Boston, you have a line on the sidewalk, a painted line. Just follow that green line. You know, and it's real easy for folks like me, who went to Boston that didn't know anything, and there's a brochure that says, just follow the line on the sidewalk. Other cities do that. They have signage right in the sidewalk, embedded in the sidewalk. So what I'm asking is if there's any consideration of a temporary before all the wayfaring signage. But remember, these folks come in and they don't know, just go down 3rd Street and turn right,
Gary,
is
I got
It's
that here and
difficult
I
for
can't do that.
Brenda has possibly an answer for you.
good.
I do. Thank you for bringing that up, Gary. So in our February meeting, I will have a proposal from a company called Sufa Signs that will give us an interactive sign to put in various locations through downtown. And in conjunction with that, being able to put semi-permanent arrows, if you will, or lines, exactly how you described, that are color-coded based on that directory. So that will give anyone, probably mostly me, because if you told me even a year ago, just head down 3rd, I'm still gonna Google it, because I don't know where I'm going. So that is definitely already in the works as part of our wayfinding.
Great. Now, the potential, I just want to make an announcement, the potential, there's going to be another cruise boat. We have 7 cruise boats. And there's going to be another one that's being built, and I don't know when, American Cruise Line, but American Cruise Line brings in 3. And the potential to add 2 foot traffic, visitor foot traffic is really important to downtown. And we have a lot of buses stopping, so, we're just trying to build on it and trying to increase the presence of how you get around downtown for even those that have lived here a long time.
For even Brenda.
Yeah, even for me. Gary, if you would be so kind as to send me that map that's given to passengers, because we are coming up with a downtown district directory that will go as part of that signage and wayfinding. But if I would love to reference something that has been used already, just to make sure that we're not missing any key points, if you would be willing to either swing one by or I can come by and get one.
No, I'll come down and talk to you and bring all that I have. This just been within the last 2 days that American Empress is going to add the Center for Arts and History.
Perfect.
So yesterday was the transit director and also the Center for Arts and History to inform them that all the work that we've been doing for about 5-6 years has come to fruition. So,
Wonderful.
I'll bring that all down to you, Brenda, or I'll send it to you, and I'll send it to Katie, so if anybody wants to reference that.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary.
All right. Any other member comments? Board member comments? All right, Katie, you want the staff comments or me?
I am staff, you're not staff, you're a board member.
Okay.
So just welcome to our new board members, like we already did the introductions, that's what I was going to do at this point. Otherwise, just a reminder about February's meeting, again, if anyone's unable to come, or if you do need a Zoom link when we send out the agenda, please let us know so that we can arrange for that to be available to you. That's all I got right now.
All right, I'll piggyback on her. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for volunteering to do this.
Yeah.
I like the new faces and new places people are coming from. It's gonna make a difference, for sure. Next, annual meeting. February 7th for BDL, but you want us all there because you're doing
Yes.
BID announcement also, so.
Correct. So it is going to be held at the library from 5 to 7. We are going to have some speakers in the beginning portion, as well as an update of all the BDL to-dos. And then we'll have a panel with our Public Works Director, our Community Development Director, and our Parks and Rec Director so that we can have ratepayers attend as well. I would love it if BID board members would participate in that, so that we can, again, just have one more way to be transparent and provide that information for what the work plan looks like for 2023, questions on, you know, when infrastructure projects are happening. I would love for everyone to be in attendance. We'll have some light appetizers and non-alcoholic beverages. And yeah, it should be a great time. We might also do some giveaways. Who knows? We'll see. Have to show up.
Awesome. All right, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.